You know what? Sometimes in life we feel like we're hitting a brick wall and it feels like we can't do anything to overcome some of the situations or challenges or barriers that we're facing, especially during a time like this. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about some things you could possibly do in order for you to alleviate the situation a bit more. And I don't want to hold any sort of like illusions in terms of a solution, but there are things that we can do. If you don't know who I am already, my name is Michael Tabaradi, high performance coach and mentor, and I help self-starters and ambitious professional millennials increase their productivity, enhance their performance, realize their priorities, and live their life on purpose. Now, if this is the first time you've come to my YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, all the links are in the description below. Now let's get into the video. Now, as I stated before, there are things that come into our life that make us feel like we're not adequate enough, or things are not working the same way or the right way. And so we start to get frustrated, defeated, and really annoyed at the situation. Sometimes even annoyed at ourselves. So what do? Well, sometimes we find this in our careers. Many of us are feeling this in our jobs. Maybe we feel like we're in a space where we shouldn't be. I had that same experience, probably about 7-8 months ago. Maybe it's a situation where you're trying to get a business to work, but it's not working the way you want it to work. It's not banging the same way. Maybe it's because you're not making the money or getting the audience or the attention that you think you deserve. Maybe it's a situation where you're in a relationship and, okay, it may not be quite a Jamel and Deborah situation, okay, but you feel like you're in a situationship and you want to overcome some of these issues or barriers. Maybe it's your health. Possibly you feel like you need to treat your health with respect and treat your body like a temple, eat better, exercise, and do all these things. What can you do to really make sure that you move beyond this space? Well, here are some possible things. The first thing I would say is take a break. Don't be scared to take a break. There is beauty in not doing anything, okay? And I say this from experience back in 2019 where I was getting frustrated with my business. I wasn't really aligned to what I wanted to do. I took a 4-month break because I realized that actually there's no real pressure to do anything if it's not really working for me. And what ended up happening was I only did what I wanted to do based on what my body told me and didn't do anything premeditated or pre-planned or whatever it may be. And slowly, I started to understand what I like, what I don't like, and what I needed to compromise because I started to develop an idea of what goals I wanted to focus on. And with that, I became aligned. And this is where this whole idea of brutal honesty came into play. This is where the idea of authenticity came into play because I was acting more authentically to self. And so maybe you need to recalibrate. Maybe you need to get to a stage of understanding what do I want? Not what does the world want? What do I truly want? It doesn't have to be grandiose. It could be very small. It just has to be what you want. Based on your alignment, based on your internal values, based on your desires as well. Second thing, I've spoken about this before, is values. Be clear about what is important to you. Because once you're clear about that, you can prioritize those things. And based on those prioritizations becomes a thing where you become more efficient. You become more productive. You don't have to try to do anything. Things just happen. Okay. So being clear of your values is a really important thing. The third thing I'd say is try not to think emotionally. Okay. You may need an objective friend or a coach or someone to sit down with to talk about the situation and think about what it is that you have to do. What are the concrete facts? Okay. What are the facts? What is the fiction? What are you telling yourself in terms of emotions? But what can you actually do in order to get out of that? So once you've spoken to those people, think about developing a plan. What needs to be done consistently? What needs to be done over time? Because sometimes you just need to talk it out and have some sort of list to work against in order for you to feel like, actually, I'm doing this effectively. Because we can get so lost into the activity of trying to overcome this situation that we don't realize that actually we're doing what we need to do. And this is all that can be done. Again, I remember a situation probably about 7 years ago. I was quite junior in a role, and I asked this question in a training, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, to the trainer, basically saying, what do you do when you've lost all sort of like, I guess, Well, what do you do when you're hitting your head against a brick wall? What do you do in that situation where you feel like nothing's going to change? And they were all sort of like bouncing around ideas and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I might as well solve the problem myself because no one has a plausible answer. And the answer I came up with was you need to have hope. You need to have faith. So if that faith and hope is not alive within you, it's going to be very difficult for you to move forward because you can't see beyond the situation. You have to. You're never ever going to be in the same situation forever. That's not possible. Life is about change. Life is about, a pivot in different directions. So with that knowledge and understanding in mind, you have to believe that something will change. That may come directly from you, which is what we're aiming to do, having locus of control. Or it may be external factors. But if we wait for those external factors, you may not really get to overcome your situation soon enough. Because this comes down to your mental health. The next thing I'll also say is spend time with friends and family and loved ones. May be difficult during this time, okay? But beyond this time, and you can still do it depending on your restrictions in your area, spend time with loved ones if you can. Catch up with people. Crack jokes. Play games. Do all these different things to ease your mind. That is a spiritual and social cleansing. It really is. And so indulge in sort of like social practices that heightens your mood because you want to spend time with loved ones and people who make you feel good as well through those interactions. I'd also get involved in spiritual and meditative practices. So meditation is a great one. Pray if you can, so you can build up that inner resilience and communication with God if you're religious, or just really making sure you're really believing in what is possible. Okay. Maybe you want to do some yoga. Maybe you want to exercise. Exercise is a great way to do this, okay? Maybe you want to focus on your food intake. So these are all things that you can do to make sure that you overcome these barriers because it's not easy, my friends. It's not easy, but all I can say is reach out to someone and talk to them. And if you can't talk to someone, I'm sure there are groups out there. Don't be afraid to, get a coach if you need one. Don't be afraid to get therapy if you need one. But there are people who can help you. If we're in these situations, we shouldn't be afraid to spend money. We shouldn't be afraid to spend money. And if money is the issue, then you need to focus on getting the money sorted because that's part of the steps that I was talking about. You need to be able to afford your happiness, so to speak. You need to be able to do that. And if you can't do that, and I'm not talking about buying lavish things, I mean making sure that you can have the right structures and support and systems in place to help you overcome your situation. So it's not going to be done overnight, but it takes time. It takes time to get into a space where you get into a rhythm. When I was like tens of thousands of pounds in debt, I needed to make a decision. I needed to decide that I know in the next 2 years or so, I'm going to be debt free. And that's what happened because I made that decision and that has helped boost my well-being. That didn't happen overnight, but as it happened more, I could see evidence of me getting to that goal. And so if you're hitting a brick wall, go through this video again and really see if you can actually try to do these things. And if there's anything else you think I have missed, okay, because I'm not the oracle or the bearer of all things, then leave a comment below. Let everyone else know so we can see what you're saying and we can all learn together. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.